At the beginning of the film, the protagonist of the film, Solomon Kane, is depicted. Kane and his men have attacked a fortress. With his expert swordsmanship, he murders everyone present. He finally enters the fort. Solomon Kane was such a cruel man that he did not spare the lives of wounded individuals. He catches a glimpse of some mirrors as he enters the fort. The creatures were dragging Solomon Kane's men inside the mirrors after coming from there. Now Solomon Kane proceeds the king's room without carrying this. King room's door is automatically locked as Solomon Kane enters there, so the rest of men of Solomon Kane are left outside. Solomon Kane catches the sight of the dead body of the king there, and the temperature of surroundings begins to decrease all of a sudden. Suddenly, a black smoke rises and forms into a Satan. It sits there after forming into a Satan. That black entity calls itself here, "I am devil, Solomon, I have come here to grab your soul. You have killed many people mercilessly. This is the cause that your sins have increased more. So no matter what happens, you are destined to go to hell." Saying this, that devil attacks Solomon, but he escapes while breaking a window. 1 year later in the story, a church is shown in England. Solomon is seen there who had embraced the virtue, saying valediction to bad deeds. It means that he has turned into a good being so God may shower his mercy over him. He may not send him in the hell. He had also donated his all property to the church. One day, a father comes to Solomon. He tells him, "I dream of you as your destination is another else, so you will have to leave this church." Solomon Kane has to agree with that father in spite of his reluctance, so he begins to go to his native town. Leaving the church, some robbers attack Solomon on the way, capturing him, but Solomon does not make a counterattack, but he is easily beaten from them, because he does not want to move away from virtue. Getting this advantage, those robbers beat him too much that they leave him unconscious. Waking up, Solomon finds himself in a car. There is a girl before him whose name is Meredith. She was treating Solomon. Meredith and her family were moving to another city. They camp at a place at night and spend the night there. Solomon recalls his childhood memory when he is sleeping at night, where he is in standing position near a mountain where he observes that his brother is teasing a girl. Witnessing this, Solomon forbids his brother to do as such, but his brother ignores him. Meanwhile, Solomon's brother falls from the high mountain. After this thought, Solomon wakes up instantly. He moves to Meredith's father right after this, where he gossips with him and also reveals his reality to him. "I have been indulged in bad activities in my life. I committed the sins that may only be expected by bad man, so my soul did not remain pure. So I have embraced the virtue now." Meredith's father says to him, "Bravo, do the same. Never withdraw from the virtue and God will forgive your all sins." Next day, they move ahead. Solomon checks that this family is so simple and nice, so he loves this family. The most loving personality in this family for him was not anyone else, but Meredith. While walking, they reach a town which is completely burnt. The whole townsfolk were burnt to die except a little girl. They console that little girl and also carry her with them. Meredith's father asks that little girl what had happened there. How did that town set on fire? That little girl tells here that townsfolk were trying to burn a witch, but she did not burn in spite of many struggles. All the people who had arrived to witness witch's death, she killed all of them. The family members say to that little girl, "Pray for them who had been victimized by that witch." Being afraid, that little girl forbids praying. Observing this, Solomon begins to suspect that little girl, so he carries a crucifix near her. That little girl takes her real form with this. Actually, she was a witch who had disguised that little girl. That witch says to Solomon, drawing a mark on Meredith's hand, "Devil is waiting for you." Saying this, that witch flies to somewhere. Masked man is seen who was dangerous. He captures those robbers who had caught Solomon, and he begins to convert all robbers like him. He places his hand on all of them. With his action, all come under his control. Meredith asks Solomon about that mark. He replies, "I have no information about this, just trust me." Solomon witnesses that masked man's pawns have imprisoned many people, and they are carrying with them. Seeing this, Solomon says to Meredith's brother that, "Immediately move to your family, and ask them to carry you away." But masked men had already assaulted Meredith's family. Meredith's brother begins to shout loudly. Hearing his shouting, Solomon reaches there. A man had caught Meredith's brother, and he had targeted his neck with a knife. Solomon says to that man, "I request you leave this child. He is just a small kid. Don't kill him." because of under the control of masked man. So he ignores Solomon and kills Meredith's brother while cutting his throat. Seeing this, Solomon becomes dejected and heartbroken. Then he decides, lifting his eyes to the sky, if I killed them, then hell will surely be destined for me at this time. But I don't care right now and I am ready to accept this. Solomon begins to kill all masked man's pawns one by one mercilessly after deciding this, but masked men had already brought Meredith at a great distance. After this, Solomon comes to Meredith's father. Seeing him, her father says to Solomon, "Promise me that you will rescue my daughter. You will always be with her." Solomon arranges many weapons to fight with them. Solomon makes victim many of masked man's pawns, chasing him. Masked man's pawn's eyes and face are turning as they are dying. Seeing this, Solomon understands that they all men are under the control of masked man. Solomon continues to search for Meredith for many days. One day, he goes to a church, and the church fathers arrive there. Devils are seen in the basement, which had also been made by masked man. He had held sway over all of them. Now Father knows this fact here. They are sinless about that action applied on them. Masked man is guilty for all the actions, so he takes cares all these devils, keeping them in the basement. It means he feeds them. Solomon asks him here, "What do you serve them?" But Father does not answer him, hearing his question. Rather, he throws Solomon into the same basement. So they all devils eat Solomon to quench their appetite. Now Solomon tries his best to fight with all the devils with his sword. Meanwhile, he also finds an exit. Those devils do not come outside after him because of the light. Coming outside, the same robbers who have converted into a devils because of that masked man. He observes them as those robbers attack Solomon. Then Solomon also kills all of them with the counterattack. Then he interrogates about Meredith from their leader after torturing him. That leader says, "She has died now." Knowing this, Solomon becomes aggressive on him that he throws him into the basement. Solomon is grieved because of the news of Meredith's death. He becomes heartbroken and he begins to take alcohol excessively. Then Solomon's old partner arrives there who used to take part in his group fighting. He says to Solomon, reaching there, "Don't lose your hope. Lead us again so we may face them. We want to fight with those devils." But Solomon forbids him of doing so, and he asks him to leave because Solomon was so dejected because of the death of Meredith. Masked man and his pawns reach there after a while. Coming here, they create havoc in the whole village. They set the whole village on fire. Doing so, they hang all the villagers, and Solomon was also among them. He does not take any step to free him from hanging, because he did not need this life, so he keeps hanging there. After a time, those people cross that place who had imprisoned Meredith. Meredith glimpses Solomon here and begins shouting. Solomon also hears her shouting. He comes to know here that Meredith is still alive, so he tries to be freed from the hanging, using his full strength. He eventually falls down after being freed from the hanging, but the pawns of masked man were there. Solomon was so feeble here that he had no strength to fight with all of them. Then Solomon's old partner comes from the backside at the same time. He has brought his whole team here. He kills the pawns of masked man. Coming here, they remove the enchantment applied on Solomon. Solomon observes, coming into senses, that his hands, which were wounded because of hanging, they have recovered now. They come to know where is masked man now. Masked man is in the palace right now, the king of that time. He was not anyone else but Solomon's father. Solomon tells his partners, "I have brought up in the same palace, but I don't know either my father is alive there or not." Then they move to the back door of the palace to attack, gathering their force members. Going there, they encounter the same witch who had disguised a little girl before. Now Solomon is so aggressive on this witch that he kills that witch, throwing a knife at once. At the first sight, many devils approach there created by masked man. Masked man also comes there later. Coming there, he begins to fight with the men of Solomon. It is exposed here that masked man is so potent. So Solomon's men decide this. They will enter the palace to hide themselves without fighting the masked man. Solomon fights with masked man here so his men get a chance to enter the palace. After it, Solomon enters the palace through a small door. He directly moves to that prison where all prisoners are kept. He catches a glimpse of an old man and Solomon recognizes him with first sight, as he is my father. He also tries to release his father here. It means that he tries to unchain him. In spite of these struggles, he remains unable to break his chain, because spell was on the chain. Solomon asks forgiveness from his father here. He says, "My elder brother met his end in my childhood because of me." But his father tells him, "When your brother fell into a ditch, he was still alive at that time, but he laid down there in unconscious state because of being wounded. I treated him to many doctors and priests, but he did not recover. So I call most potent man here. That powerful entity was no one else but the devil. I fulfilled all the condition which he put forward. So I brought your brother back, but your brother had lost in the world of darkness at that time. So he had not remained like before. His face was distorted because of falling down. So he has to live after masking his face now. It is opened here that Solomon's brother is not other person but masked man. He had not been I the list of good humans. Solomon's father gives him a gun and asks him to kill me, because his brought devil's partner will remain alive until he lives. Solomon has to kill his father here unwillingly. After this, Solomon moves into the king's room where he encounters devil's man there. That partner was not other but that demon from whom Solomon escaped at the start of the movie. Then Solomon goes to kill him, holding a sword. But that devil's partner is turned into the same black smoke, and he disappears from here for one more time. Solomon glimpses Meredith there in a cage and breaks the lock of her cage. But masked man attacks Solomon, coming from backside. Solomon attempts to explain his brother masked man. "Behold, try to understand. Don't be my rival. I am your brother. You should avoid all these actions." But masked man begins to fight with Solomon again. Devaluing his words, Solomon asks the devil's partner while calling him during the fight, "Where are you? Why are you hiding yourself from me?" Hearing his voice, devil's partner shows him a portal where a beast was imprisoned. And this beast has also been sent by the devil, so it may carry Solomon's soul to the hell. Solomon again prays to God and tries to explain his brother masked man. "Look, try to understand that you are the king of this kingdom." In spite of this, his brother masked man does not understand. Solomon leaves masked man wounded after fighting too much. He burns him later. Then devil's that partner brings Meredith to the portal. He sprinkles the blood of Meredith on the portal. Consequently, that portal is opened and that beast comes out of this, which was giant and horrific. Meredith was a virtuous girl. This was the cause that portal had opened with her blood. That beast moves to Solomon to hunt him. Solomon asks help from God here. "God, help me." He is also running to escape from the beast while praying. Then he reaches devil's partner who had put a knife on the neck of Meredith. Solomon says to the partner of devil, "No matter, you capture my soul, but spare the life Meredith." The devil's partner asks Solomon, seeing this, "Why do you want to save the life of her and giving your soul?" Solomon says to him, taking his gun out, "Because I had promised her father that I will save Meredith at any cost." Saying this, Solomon fires his gun at that devil's partner. It has died at the spot. Meredith is also released from it in this way. Solomon had fulfilled his promise while rescuing Meredith, so God forgives his all sins. So Beast also returns back to the portal. They both become so sentimental. They were also so excited with this, that devil has eventually gone away. Solomon sends Meredith to her mother and he himself is standing near the bank of a stream. And he is ready to go somewhere else, because he had known the purpose of his life now, as he will purify this whole world while eradicating the devils and bad spirits. The movie completes on this scene.